All right, here we are again, going through today's workout. So our prep portion, again, we're just sticking with this 3 to 4 sets per day. Make that adjustment based on how much time you have, what works best for you in terms of warm up. If you want to add a 5th set in, by all means, get in there and do that if you have the time available and it makes you feel a little bit more prepared for movement. I will again reiterate that if you have a bike or a rower on hand, by all means feel free, or a treadmill, by all means feel free to integrate that into the warm-ups or even into some of these workouts if you'd like. But just understand that we don't know that everyone has that, so we don't include it. So today we have 3 movements in our prep portion. The first one being 1 minute of prisoner position, tall, kneeling to standing. The second one being 10 leg swings in each direction. And the last one being 10 jump squats. So starting with our prisoner lunges, all we're referring to is hand position. So my hands are gonna go up behind my head, interlace my fingers, okay? And I'm gonna try and squeeze my shoulder blades together and pull my elbows back, okay? Keep my torso upright and work a little bit on that posture. So from here, my tall kneeling to standing is simply stepping back, down, up to standing. So again, I'm stepping into a reverse lunge, step back with the other knee. So this is my tall kneeling position. Bring that foot up that I stepped back with initially, stand, okay, and into the next rep. Alternate which foot you step back with every rep, right? That way you're not creating the exact same movement pattern every single time. So step back with your right leg first, the next rep, step back with your left leg, and so on and so forth for that 1 minute. From there, 10 leg swings in each direction. So when we're looking each direction, the video shows a couple options. So I'm fine with you going front to back in one movement. The video shows front only. This is definitely a great drill as well. So I'm gonna leave it up to you, as well as back. Obviously a little bit less range there. And then also our side to side, okay? So we're just going front, back, and then lastly, some rotation with the hip, okay? If standing on one leg and doing these leg swings is something that you are not great at, your balance struggles, do it right next to a wall. Hold something that's upright. If you have, maybe a broom handle or PVC available that you can use to just brace and balance yourself a little bit, by all means do that. Okay, we're just moving the hip around. We want some control there. As you progress through those 3 sets or 4 sets, you can get a little bit more dynamic and explosive with the swing, but I would encourage you to start with it being a controlled articulation of the joint, meaning you're lifting that up. You're not using a ton of momentum to create it that first time through, and then start to add some momentum as you go. Lastly, our jump squats. Again, with this, if you want to take that first time through and just do regular air squats, rock and roll with that. If you need to do regular air squats for all of them, that's fine too. That's an adjustment that you can make. But I'm looking for a good squat position. Okay, it doesn't have to be a maximum jump, but we want to see a little bit of pop and a nice controlled landing, right? So we're not here and I'm like dropping my chest and rolling up on my toes, right? It's a good squat position into a good squat position, okay? Every single rep. 10 there, and we're going through that 3 to 4 times. As I mentioned before, you want to add a 5th set, rock and roll, okay? But that's our prep portion, and from there, we'll move on to our sweat piece, which is 7 sets. The effort is set at a grind, so 7 to 8 out of 10. Again, meaning this should be challenging, but not maximal, right? You should be out of breath, you shouldn't be chit-chatting, or feel like you can carry on a long conversation during the workout, but you also shouldn't be dying on the floor midway through. Cool? Movements that we have, I classified this as a hinge swing because again, I don't know what you have access to, and hopefully at this point, you have taken my advice or our advice to either get yourself some sort of equipment if that works for you, or create some sort of equipment, all right? But we're gonna get into that hinge position. If you don't have that, it's gonna be really hard to swing. So we'll just turn this into just a hinge, just a deadlift type position, and you won't have a swing, right? That might be what you need to do if maybe you only have a backpack or something that you really can't figure out how to swing or maneuver that particular thing. But if you've taken the time to make plastic jugs or whatever it might be, or you have a kettlebell, this is the time to use it, right? So 15 hinge swings there, and then again, kind of the same idea with our bent over row. So these are two posterior or pulling movements that it's really hard to do without access to some sort of external equipment, whether it be a pull-up bar or a barbell across a rack where you can do inverted rows. It's really hard to do with just body weight, right? So hopefully you have taken the time to set something up. I have a sandbag out here today that I'm gonna demonstrate and kind of simulate like a duffel bag would be. You load that thing up and we'll look at how we can do those rows. And then lastly, it's equipment day, jump rope. If you don't have a jump rope, get out there and you can get really nice ones that are like 50 bucks. You can also get really inexpensive ones for like $7 and they're just fine, right? So get yourself a jump rope if you don't already have one. Not just because of the current circumstance that we're in, it's just a great little piece of equipment to have that you can bring with you. Okay? Similar to those exercise bands, it's light, it travels easy, okay? It's inexpensive to purchase, doesn't take up a lot of space in your home. Today's workout, 7 sets. We have 15 reps of the swing and 15 reps of the row, all right? Followed by a minute of jump rope. If you don't have the jump rope, we're just gonna do a minute of hops, right? And simulate that wrist motion. Yes, you might look silly. Make sure to post a video, all right? But you do a minute of hops if you don't have access to a jump rope. I'm gonna step out of frame here for just a moment because I forgot my kettlebell. So with our hinge swing, if you have access to a bell or dumbbells, by all means, use those elements, right? So I'm looking to create this good hinge position where my hips are back, they're above my knees, right? It's not a squat, it's a hinge. So my hips are above my knees in these positions. If I have a kettlebell, I'm gonna set it up like a little triangle, so the kettlebell creates the point of my triangle, and my feet create the base. From there, I'm gonna drag that bell back, okay? Hopefully you can notice there's an exhale on the swing. My hips shift back. I'm thinking about pushing my feet through the floor, squeezing my butt so that bell floats out of my hip, right? I'm not trying to lift it with my upper body, right? I'm trying to use my legs, my hips. I want to imagine pushing my feet through the floor really hard so that I get that hard contraction from the glutes when I extend my hip, and that's what makes the bell kind of float away. And I just want that to happen. I don't want to force it. And then I want to let that bell fall all the way back to my hip, and then I stick my butt back, okay? If you're not proficient with these, you haven't done them before, by all means, change that to just a simple deadlift or hinge pattern. So we're gonna take the explosiveness out of it, and we're just gonna follow that same movement pattern, whether it's with a kettlebell, with a band, with a bag, okay? Any of those things will work. So let's say I have access to, a duffel bag or whatever. I can even use that, get myself set up, and get into these hinge positions, okay? Or here, with it out in front of me, okay? But the same principle applies. Hips drive back, back stays flat, squeeze your butt, push your feet through the floor. For our bent over rows, if you have access to dumbbells or kettlebells, by all means use them, but we're gonna return to that hinge position and we're gonna be pulling whatever the external load is. I'm gonna show you with a sandbag here that could simulate a duffel bag or backpack that you might have. So we're just gonna be bent over, maintaining that posture, and I'm rowing to my chest, okay? So notice I'm not standing up and pulling this. I'm staying here in this static position, pulling that element up. If I have dumbbells or kettlebells, I can use those. If I only have one kettlebell, I can do one arm at a time and accumulate. Maybe I would probably drop those down to like 10 per side instead, and do one arm rows, so you can do that as well. And then lastly, we have a minute of jump rope, which I already mentioned. Either get your jump rope out, try and keep that movement in your wrist, or you can just simulate your jump rope here. Focusing on that we're springing off the feet, it's cyclical, right? And I move my wrist along with the rhythm of when my feet hit the ground, all right? Last thing that we have is our breathe portion. Again, don't negate this, okay? Don't skip it, take the time, okay? Take the time, get some breath work in, close your eyes. It's 5 minutes of peace, right? It can help aid in your recovery, but it's also really great for stress relief. I encourage you to do it more often, but at a minimum, if you integrate it daily at the end of these workouts, it'll do wonders for you. Today, our position is a seated forward fold. So think just toe touch on the ground is what we're talking about. So I'm gonna sit, grab my toes, and I wanna kind of relax and let my head drop here. Big deep breaths in through my nose, long slow exhale out through my mouth. I wanna try and elongate each piece of the breath, being the inhale, the hold, the exhale, and the hold, okay? If you can't quite touch your toes, that's fine. Hands on your shins, or if you have a belt or a band or something that you can wrap around your feet and kind of anchor yourself down. This shouldn't be a super strenuous stretch. I don't want you yanking yourself into that position, right? But you can definitely use a piece of equipment or a tool to help kind of anchor you there and hold you a little bit more stable so you can relax and let that breath loosen you up and get you deeper into the position. All right, guys, excellent work. Continue sticking with this. Continue sticking with your daily lifestyle habits of hydration, nutrition, sleep, and movement. If you're feeling froggy, I encourage you to throw in some reflection, meditation, journaling. Those sort of things can be really, really powerful when done on a very regular basis. All right, take care. Good luck. Keep up the hard work.